I want to thank everybody for coming. The people in the back, move down and take your seats. For those that don't know me, my name is Frank Llewellyn. I'm on the executive committee of DSA, and it was my challenge and pleasure to be the prime organizer of tonight's event. And in that context, there are lots of people that need to be thanked. And I want to begin with the most important people. And that's not me, that's you. We're here tonight to share in our common vision. So right now I want to give each of you, give yourself a round of applause, stand up and cheer. Thank you. Now, as the prime organizer, I have to take responsibility for one final weekend. Somehow, I managed to schedule this against a playoff baseball game. But personally, I blame it on the Cubs. Supposed to be a land. That's a tough audience. All right, and I also want to thank very much each of our participants in tonight's program, and especially Jim Hightower. And for those who don't know, Jim Hightower is speaking tomorrow at a similar gathering for us in Washington, D.C. at Busboys and Poets with Robert Airlight and Larry Cohen, the retired president of the CWA. And we hope that will be a good meeting as well. We're here tonight at 11:99. As I would when I first got here. One of the most progressive unions in the city, and one that has one of the strongest political action components, and has played a critical role not only in carrying out its own program in support of workers, but providing immense support to grassroots organizations throughout the city, especially in the North. And I think it's particularly fitting that we're here in this place tonight. But I want to make sure that everybody understands that the content of this tonight's meeting is solely the responsibility of Democratic Socialists of America. And it's not related to 1199. 1199, that don't know, has no position on the presidential election, and this isn't a signal of any kind. And the other thing for you to know, this is not at all an official activity of the Sanders campaign. We are running our own program, sort of in support of Bernie, in full compliance with the onerous restrictions of the Federal Election Commission, which seem to me not to do anything about what millionaires and billionaires can do, but do a lot to constrain grassroots volunteer activists. And thirdly, I want to thank all of the many Bernie groups in the city who either formally signed on to this, publicized it, are here tonight, or helped to build the event. The Sanders campaign is setting enormous marks, I think, in the kinds of spontaneous grassroots activity that it is generating. And it certainly seems to me that it'll take a long time before somebody else has done a genuine, independent grassroots support operation that is right now out there in this community and many others supporting Bernie Sanders. Now, we organized tonight's event in part because we wanted to take note of the many organizations and activities of this grassroots group, to note, in a certain sense, what's already been accomplished, which is to create tremendous momentum and to create an enormously serious candidate for national office when 8 months ago, the idea that Bernie Sanders might win the nomination, was a well-made joke. And it's people like you, all around the country, that have created that possibility. And what we want to do tonight is reflect on what we accomplished, and also reflect on what we have yet to do in the near term. Everyone knows that October 29th, we just passed the voter registration deadline in October. The next big deadline is December 29th. That's the beginning of petitioning. And that's what we've got to get ready for. And then after that, there's a primary. And we also have to be prepared for what we're going to do after the primary and after the general. And right now, I'd like to call on Eddie Kane to provide a welcome. Eddie has mentored many trade unionists. He was in the leadership of 1199 for many, many years, and it's my pleasure to turn the mic over to him.
It's always dangerous. It's always dangerous to applaud before one speaks, because I'll probably screw it up and you won't want to applaud, so I don't know what the hell you're doing it for. But hold on. I guess I gotta put on the shirt. You can't keep without the shirt. It's a shirt that's going to mean something. But since we got this guy, I think his name is I don't know, H-I or something like that, coming here from Texas, I might as well tell the truth. I don't know where the heck he's from, Texas, but he claimed it. Well, I was out in Texas, way before him. And then I went south to Mexico on my horse. I was thin in there, so the horse didn't die. But whatever it is, I then took on the animal, try to eliminate it, and take on that the indigenous people would take over the Alamo. Do you believe that? Yes or no? Be honest. Who said no? Get it, get it. It's about time. But another of those horse stories, because this Hightower, listen, he's going to claim that he was down in the Alamo, and I'm very, very careful about you. I don't know who you are, except to say he has more guts than all the people that I have ever met. Let's give Hightower a hand. I want to stress the importance of George Gresham, the president, and Steve Kramer, the executive vice president, in making sure that we got this room. And let's give 1199 Gresham and Kramer. Also clear that tonight I do not represent 1199, but that's in my blood, 41 years, and we built the union. We built it. And we're pushing. We're pushing not for Hightower, but for Hightower's beliefs. Not for Hightower, but for the struggle that Hightower has lived through, struggled through, and pushed through. And one has to push. He's too skinny. Like me, Gresham and I were fat and we could push better than him. But I want to go into what I used to do at 1199, besides run the union. The most important thing was to organize. And let me ask you, I only have 3/4 of an hour, so I have to be very careful. Yes. Stop waiting, it doesn't help you. I have the mic, not you. The question, and it's, what's the first step in organizing? What do you think you must do right away in organizing? Anybody, come on, don't be afraid.
Listen.
What?
Listen.
I didn't hear.
Listen.
Louder.
Listen.
Oh, you need work? Oh, I guess so. Work. How about start out with the word work? Work. Think about it. I've seen these great radicals come up to my offices and, hey, I believe in Carl and Freddie and this and that. And I'd say to myself, can you organize workers? Because that's the first question that Carl and Freddie and all would ask. What's the second thing you must do when you're organizing? What? Out loud, don't be afraid, I'll only make fun of you. What are you worried about? You'll get even later. The second thing, nobody's afraid. How about you up here? What do you do? The second thing, with workers. You should know. No, work, get them to work. And after they finish working, if you feel sorry for workers, quit the job. If you feel sorry for workers, quit the job. If you cry for workers, quit the job. If you work workers to exhaustion, stay on the job. If you work workers to the point where they're crying, where they feel, I have no more strength to take this fight on, and they're about to give up, and you work them harder and harder, and what are you accomplishing? You're accomplishing that workers who have those dreams, who have those aspirations of winning, and when they feel that this battle, whatever battle it is their battle. When they feel that it's their battle, then you got an organized worker. Then you got a worker that begins to believe in himself and herself. It's amazing how we feel sorry for workers. You are destructive. You are destructive. It is how much you motivate, how much you push, how much you train, how much you teach, how much you do everything to feel and get to where workers are empowered. Once workers are empowered, nothing stops them. It's their fight. It's their union. It's their struggle. Do not feel sorry for people. Build people so that people will not feel sorry for themselves, who will take what they have. Am I right or wrong? I can't hear you. Three-quarters of our unions do for workers is a disaster, is to get workers to do for themselves. And when they are tired, we drive even more. When they are thinking they're going to lose, we drive even more. And then we will get there. So, I leave with you, and I know I'm finishing too soon, but it aggravates me, but I shouldn't. But whatever it is, I just want to give a little recognition to this. I thought he was fat, but he looks so skinny there, for Pete's sake. I only like fat people, but whatever it is, his name is Hightower, right? So we're going to do a little game over here. You know how to say hard? Say it. Hard. I can't hear you. Hard. Louder. Louder. I'm talking, you look like dead people out there. And over here, it's tower. You know how to say tower? Let's hear it. Tower. Tower. All right, let's go. Hard tower. Hard tower. Hard tower. Thank you very much.
I call now Jerome Thompson. I haven't heard him speak before, so I'm looking forward to it. But I heard he does a great job. Jerome.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a little warm in here. You feel the burn? You feel the burn? I know I can feel the burn. I'm excited. Again, my name is Jerome Thompson. I'm an organizer with the Communication Workers of America. I've been organizing, officially getting paid for it since February. Prior to that, I used to work for a company called Cablevision, owned by the infamous James Dolan. He owns the Knicks, he owns the Rockettes, he owns the Rangers. He's a billionaire. So, every single day right now, I'm in the trenches, fighting for job security, fighting for workers' rights, livable wages, equal pay for equal work, affordable health care and affordable dental care. With Cablevision, I work with a lot of ladies and gentlemen who couldn't even afford to have a family in New York City. Working for a billionaire, they can't afford to have to make a choice either to put food on their table or buy their kids medicine. And that just shouldn't be. And as Cablevision workers, we were fed up, we were frustrated. I worked out of a garage in Brooklyn, New York. And Brooklyn has its challenges, with the buildings and the different demographics. So some of our co-workers from Long Island came out to Brooklyn to help us out with some jobs. And they were talking about how much money they made. And we were like, wow, they make so much more money than us. Their job is probably 10 times easier, So that's when we said, we have to come together. And we have to, try to get a collectively bargained contract. So in January of 2012, we made a democratic and conscious decision to vote CWA to represent us to fight for a collectively bargained contract. And we won. It was 280 workers. Out of the 280 workers, 180 workers voted yes, and 80 of them voted no. Because they didn't want to lose their free cable, I guess. But the 180 workers that voted yes, we got the union in. And we started, thereafter, we went to the negotiating table. We elected a team to negotiate. So a couple of months after that, Cablevision decided to fire me the first time. I got fired 3 times by Cablevision. I've never been fired 3 times by one employer. The first time, after I got fired, 50 of my coworkers, they walked into Cablevision's office, their quote-unquote open door policy, with stickers on their shirt saying, "Where's Jerome?" They were asking tough questions. How come he got fired? What did he do? Can you give us something? 2 days later, I got my job back because workers stood up for me. A year later, after Cablevision, they didn't take the bargaining process seriously. Every month they would meet with the bargaining team and just surface bargaining, wouldn't talk about any real issues. They were arguing about putting a bulletin board in the break room. And, we're trying to feed our families. We're trying to make sure we have, adequate health care. And they want to argue about a bulletin board. So 100 of us, before we got our routes one day, we walked in back into Cablevision's quote-unquote open door policy and wanted to ask management, how come you're not bargaining fairly? What can we do to make the process quicker? So what they did was they corralled about 22 of us, put us in a conference room, 16 shop stewards and other strong union activists. And they walked in and said, "You've been fired. Turn in your keys, your IDs, and your phone," and had us escorted out by the NYPD. This was January of 2013. About 6 weeks later, with a lot of political pressure, city council hearings, people in the community like yourselves, we got our jobs back. And we still didn't get our back pay for those 6 weeks. Cablevision just, succumbed to the pressure. They gave us our jobs back. And we went through a lengthy NLRB hearings. And we actually won the case. And Cablevision is still fighting and appealing. They're trying to drag it out, use their billions of dollars against us. So the last time I was fired was August of 2014. I was in a meeting. Cablevision had a meeting. They had what they call a branding meeting. They started off, they're talking about their new Cablevision brand. They're changing the color on their trucks. They have a new logo, blah, blah, blah. They started off the meeting with 2 images, an image of a colonial ship and an image of a pirate ship. To make the point, when you see that pirate flag, you know what's going to happen by seeing that pirate brand, I guess. So after their meeting, they asked if anybody had any questions or comments. So I raised my hand respectfully, called on me, and I said, it's funny that you started off that meeting with those 2 ships. There was actually a 3rd ship out there. It was a slave ship. And with slavery, and I told him slavery was the biggest stain on the American brand. Do you want that same stain on the Cablevision brand? Because you don't want to bargain fairly with the Brooklyn workers and give us parity. And James Dolan, soon after we elected the union, he also gave raises to everybody in the Cablevision footprint, 14% raises except for the Brooklyn workers. So I said, all we want is parity at this time. You know, just give us what our co-workers in Long Island are making. You know, 90% of the workers in Brooklyn are African American, Caribbean American, Hispanic American, and we're making 14% less than our co-workers in Long Island. Mostly European American, white American workers. So I said, all we want is parity. 2 weeks later, I get a letter. I didn't even get a letter. My union calls me and said, hey, Jerome, guess what? You're fired. They're going to call you in the office tomorrow. You're fired. I was like, what for? Like, came to work on time. I did my job. I was just dumbfounded. I was like, what's the problem now? You know? He said, that comment that you made about the slave ship. I was like, wow. So I was unemployed for 6 months. Thankfully, my union hired me, CWA, and I'm organizing airport workers now. Envoy, they work for American Airlines, and we're actually going to a union vote October 27th and November 24th. So November 25th, hopefully all these Envoy workers, they too will have the power to collectively bargain their contract. The work that I'm doing, like I said, it's a labor of love. And I'm still fighting. I still have a case with the National Labor Relations Board. Cablevision is spending literally thousands of dollars to try to silence me. And the work we did at Cablevision, with 20 strong organizers at Cablevision did, they caused James Nolan to give raises to 15,000 workers, equaling $120 million. So even if I don't get my job back, I feel very good that we put in a lot of work to make 15,000 workers' lives that much better. Now, Cablevision, since they just got offered a deal of $17.7 million by some French guy to buy the company out. But we're gonna give him a problem before that deal goes through. We're gonna make sure that he pays the Tech 22 their back pay. We're gonna make sure everybody that lost their jobs gets their jobs back. And we're here tonight to listen to Mr. Hightower and talk about Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, he's the only candidate out there that's talking about jobs, that's talking about free education. I was taking the train out here today and I saw a sign talking about CUNY. They want $5,000 a year just to go to a community college. If you go to a private school, it's like $30,000 a year. But if you're only making $17,000 a year, who can go to college? Who can make their lives better? This is why fast food workers are out there in the streets fighting for $15 an hour so they can put their kids through college, so they can put themselves through college. They can't put themselves through college making $7 an hour. They can't even feed their family. They put the family of 4 into one room. And I just like to bring up one other point and close with this. There's one thing that I'm unapologetic about, and this has been a topic in this election process, and I'm so glad. I'm talking about the Black Lives Matter movement. Back in the 90s, I used to listen to LIB, a lot of these talk radio, and hear how, black men are getting killed by cops. One guy, Admiral Louima, he didn't get killed, but he got raped by a cop. Another gentleman, he pulled his wallet out and he was shot 45 times. Amadou Diallo, I don't know if you guys remember Amadou Diallo. And after Amadou Diallo died, they protested. A few weeks later, we forgot about Amadou. And then somebody else got killed. And then another mother was out there protesting with Al Sharpton, and then we forgot about them. But now, with the advent of social media, they can't forget too easy because there's somebody always out there with a videotape. There's somebody always out there listening. And this is why the Black Lives Matter is in this topic, in this election debate. And I will make sure that they keep talking about it because just the other day, another black life was lost in Florida. Just the other day, I think it was Saturday. An innocent black man was working on his car on a highway in Florida, and he was shot to death by a Florida state trooper. Black lives matter. And with that, I'll close.
Our next speaker is Carmen Basilio Howard. I hope I got that right. And we're very pleased to have somebody who represents the diversity that Bernie draws, who has a history of involvement with the labor movement and representing working people as an organizer, and who's also a journalist. Carmen.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I guess I represent a lot of immigrants. I'm from Peru, a journalist, a worker, and told friends they said we are foreigners, not immigrants.
Into the microphone, please.
Yes, here.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I arrived in 1982 to this country, and this country we still have jobs and looking for the American dream. And things were a little difficult when we don't have papers, the right papers to work in American companies. So a lot of freelancing, kids away in Peru, 40 years without them. And finally, I landed this job with the Social Security, and I was able to get all the papers in order. And really, I joined the union because I was a union organizer in Peru as well. The thing is, I love this country because it opens the doors for me. I had a great job, and last year I retired with a great pension from the AP and another pension from Social Security. And I'm having I would say, a comfortable life, if you can call that. But I worry about the people who came after. Because those jobs are no longer there. There was outsourcing. The Associated Press in 2007 sent my desk, which was an American desk, to Mexico. So since I was an organizer, I decided, okay, they are outsourcing the jobs. Let's outsource the unions. So I went to Mexico and I organized a union there for the association. The point was that these people, these workers in Mexico, were doing the same job as we were doing in New York for half the price. So that was a great, I would say, impulse and work that they were going to have better deal. As we were organizing this union, the AP started closing all the gaps, all the illegal stuff that they had been doing in Mexico. It came all of a sudden better. And then the workers, we don't need a union because everything is okay now. But still, they were in the union. So, of course, when I came back to New York after 4 months, they were trying to fire me. They found an excuse on the book. And life was very easy for me after that. But the good thing was that we were able to put our effort together, and Mexico and New York became one big fist. Going back to the organizing, it's like, without the union, you don't get anything. The thing is that Bernie Sanders, in this occasion, is on our side. I have been saying, for the first time, I feel that history is on our side. Because his program has very important points for the immigrants who are first coming to this country, earning minimum wage, $7.50 an hour. They have 2 or 3 jobs in order to keep up a minimum life for their kids. So if they raise the $50, as I was talking to them, you will at least, if you have 2 jobs, you can quit one and stay with your kids at home. And they won't be joining gangs, because gangs among the Latino kids and Hispanic kids is nothing else than the search for a family. They need a group that supports them. So our group Latinos for Burning that we created after July 29 has been working in the Latino communities, doing at first, as everything else, we were ignored. The first day we went out with Victor Ortega, they didn't want to talk to us. They were saying, every politician is corrupt, we don't want anything to do with it. They didn't know better. So we started going to businesses and putting our sign Latinos for Burning in the window. And we were very happy. We thought that was great. They went to see our sign. So the next following week, we didn't went back. We didn't find anything. It was like we were never there. So we realized, okay, let's do it again. Hey, what happened to the sign? Oh, I don't know what happened. Okay, good. Can we put it again? Sure. The third week was gone again. So we decided to just do canvassing on the street. Same corner, 44th and 5th Avenue, and with the Bernie sign and the Bernie table that we got. And people decided kind of say hello to us because we were already there. Now we have a great group. People, we have registered voters. We have volunteers. We have a great base in Sunset Park. And we moved to Corona, Queens. When you go to Corona, Queens, it wasn't the first time I went there. It's like a Latin American country. Everybody speaks Spanish. It's amazing. So we had the same effect again. They did one. They would see us, they would run. It was horrible. It was, guys, we want to help. So finally, they started listening after the first page. They were very happy with Bernie. And we have been going to also East Harlem, and where they have a large Mexican community. And we are going to Fordham and the Bronx. But the message is that although Bernie is a white guy, they call him, he's a Jewish guy. But in a way, he's the son of Polish immigrants. And he grew up in Flatbush, Brooklyn. And his life was full of hardships. So he identifies us. So he's for us. When you tell them about that, they really listen. They like it. Because the thing with immigrants, we think we are so miserable, we're alone, nobody likes us. And if you see a white guy, you run, you just try to avoid him because he might mistreat you. And so that's the idea. But since I'm brown, they talk to me, we speak Spanish, and we talk about the message. The kids get very encouraged about the possibility of going to college and public college for free. The mothers get encouraged when they hear about health insurance one-pay solution and their immigration reform, which is a big thing. 11 million immigrants who live in the shadows that will finally come out. And it's not only Latinos, Asians, Polish, every nationality you can imagine It's an immigrant experience, and as I lived, I was legal in the country, and it was horrible, very lonely. Imagine being a child of a parent where you cannot talk to anybody because you are afraid that you will be pretty soon be in jail. And since there is an industry of jail these days where people make money, private industries make money with jails, and the federal government subsidizing, it's not a welcoming country that I came to. So with that note, Bernie Sanders is welcome in the Latino community. The message is getting across. We have been calling him, I think I started this as a boy, Compañero Bernardo Sanders. And it's just a very familiar face. And I thank you very much for listening to me. I would say, who would care about this? But then I realized making a little memory of, wow, it has been difficult. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Now, we're going to have some announcements, and I want to do something logistical first. How many people in the audience need a program? Did Kevin? Raise your hand if you need a program. All right. Could some people at the table distribute programs? Anybody who wants to just go down and pass them to us? And I mentioned that it's important that everybody gets a program, because they have to know what's going on. But on page 4 of the program, it tells you how to get in touch with DSA after you leave this meeting. And there are many ways on Facebook, at Meetup, and our website. And I want to make sure you have that opportunity. And I'd also like the other members of the New York DSA Steering Committee to stand up, raise your hand so people can recognize you. And if you want to talk to somebody about what DSA does in New York, it'll be at the back table or around there after the meeting, when we spend a little time getting to know each other and establish those connections. I want to call on now George Alvaro, and he has an important announcement about how we move forward.
So, with all these people doing all this work, with our army, literally army of volunteers that we have, thousands and thousands of people in New York, I have no doubt that we can win this election. We can in our home state. Wouldn't that be a story? One small obstacle we have to get over first. It's called New York election law and ballot access law. We'll all go out, Democratic primary April 19th, we want to go out and vote for Bernie. But the winner of the election is the person who gets the most delegates. Okay? When you go to vote, you vote not only for Bernie statewide, you vote for people on the ballot in a congressional district who are registered Democrats and are running to be delegates to the convention for pledge to vote for Bernie. And in order to do that, we have to organize between now and, as Frank said, December 29th, when petitioning starts, we have to organize slates of delegates in each congressional district. There's 27 in New York State. Okay? Most of the Democratic districts are in the South, in Long Island, New York, and up to 18, and that's where our responsibility has been. So, I ask anyone who would consider running for delegate to see me after this event, come up and we'll talk, where you live, and it's not a piece of cake. As Amy says, it's work, work, work. But if you think of it, it's work that will pay off enormously, because when Bernie then gets, let's say, 50% of the vote in your district, he'll get half the delegates if we have people running for him. Not only that, when you're a delegate, you get to go to the convention in Philadelphia at the end of July. Wonderful city, you get to see the museum, you get to see Rocky, went up the stairs and all that. But in your free time, you can also be on various committees, like the platform writing committee. Wouldn't that be great if Jerome, who's running for delegate, and Carmen, who's running for delegate, and some other folks sits on the platform committee and talks about what should be the candidate's position on the minimum wage? We don't lose. We can have a profound impact on that platform. And if Hillary's handlers do not like the platform we write, we can take it to the floor of the convention. That could be interesting. So this is a real, real important thing. We must have our delegate slates by December and petition. And once we do that, then Bernie will get the vote that he's entitled to, and we'll win New York State.
I want to call Baruch to come up and make a very short announcement about some DSA activity that are going on. And I just want to remind people that when the meeting is over, at the back, there are various Bernie groups that have sign-up sheets about this kind of work. And it's very important that we stay organized and keep moving forward.
Hello to our DPW rally. I'm Noelle. I'm one of the co-chairs of the New York City local chapter of DSA. And I'm Shannon, and I'm also another co-chair of the steering committee of DSA New York City. So we have two exciting events coming up very shortly. This Saturday, we have a bilingual table for Bernie. We've been tabling all over the city and many places in Brooklyn and Manhattan. We are gearing up to go to the Bronx and Queens, but for this coming Saturday, we'll be in the Upper Spanish Harlem doing a bilingual table. Saturday, October 24th, noon to 2 p.m. outside El Aguila restaurant. If you speak Spanish and love Bernie, definitely should come.
So on Monday, November 2nd, we will have our monthly talk, how to talk about socialism. So basically we go over what is socialism and how do we talk about it with other people. So we usually have it at our National DSA office, 75 Main Lane Suite 702 in Manhattan. And those are at 7. Hope to see you there.
I'd like to call next on Maria Svart, who is DSA's national director, and who succeeded me in that position, and does a far greater job than I ever did. And just to add one small caveat to what's in the program, if you go right now to DSA's website, which every professional should know by heart, DSA.org. On that website, you'll find a video of Maria on the C-SPAN program, the Washington Journal, this past Sunday, talking about DSA, talking about Bernie Sanders, talking about socialism. And I want to tell you that she knocked it out of the park. And I really urge everyone to take a look at that if you want to see how to talk about the ideology that many of us believe in without talking over people, without talking down people, and without jargon that puts people off. and how to deal with opponents, without trying to tarnish them, and to do what Americans like to hear people do, be positive. Maria's hard.
Okay, pardon me, I'm height challenged, I'm gonna get a little stand. Marginally better. Hello. So, hello everybody. As Frank mentioned, I'm the National Director of ESA. We believe that both the economy and society should be run democratically to meet human needs rather than corporate profit, much like Bernie. And we are a member-funded and member-run political and activist grassroots organization. We are not a political party. People often confuse that. And essentially what we do is we have grassroots chapters on campuses and in communities, such as the one in New York. They use a variety of tactics, from legislative to direct action, to fight for reforms that empower working people. And as a former union organizer, I really agree that it's about empowering people, and as a socialist, it's not about feeling sorry for people, it's about really transforming the relationships of power in our society. So I just want to talk about 3 things briefly tonight to sort of frame the way we think about what our task is in this political moment. So the first thing I want to ask is, or talk about, is what does political revolution really mean? This is what Bernie talks about all the time on the campaign trail. It's really critical because he's really talking about dramatically taking power back and making sure that working people have a voice in our society. Because honestly, across the political spectrum, everyone in this country wants to build strong communities that allow individuals and families to thrive. And that really happens despite this mythology we have in this country, which is quite conservative, of the rugged individual who can pull himself up by the bootstraps. We all know that this is absolutely a false narrative. But everybody wants to build communities that are nurturing. But many people recognize that's not possible today. So they tend to pull back and they start thinking a me and mine mindset, and it really does become an us against them mindset. So why does this happen? Because there's a small class of people that divide us, and they make policy changes deliberately to rig the economy and put up barriers for anyone else succeeding. And this is not new. This has been happening since the founding of our country, since slavery. And they've used division, or rhetoric of division, to pull working people apart from each other and really divide us so that we can't be united and really demand a voice in what should be our democracy. And Sanders is absolutely correct. We don't really have a true democracy anymore. What we have is a system where Wall Street regulates Congress rather than the other way around. So when Bernie talks about the political revolution, he's not just talking about this nice change in the way we think about politics, or just the fact that new people are getting involved in politics. He's really talking about concrete changes and a concrete, long-lasting movement. Because our job is absolutely to fight back. It's to get them elected, but to continue after the election as well. And it's the battle of our lives. I was a union organizer. I got involved in ESA when I was in college, and then after that I became a union organizer, and I've been on staff at ESA for a number of years. But, I've had my eyes on the prize, and I encourage all of us to have our eyes on the prize, and to understand that without struggle there is no progress, as Frederick Douglass said, because power concedes nothing without a demand, and that demand has to be powerful and lasting. It cannot just be the next few months. So that's the first point I want to make. Political revolution is a big undertaking. But how do we do it? And I have a few thoughts on how exactly we can make this happen. We live in an era of mass media and spectacle where we are encouraged to anesthetize ourselves against basically the misery of our existence by consuming. And we are encouraged to buy. We're told that that's how you buy happiness. We're told that if we just work hard enough, then we can succeed. And this mythology of the American dream really keeps a lot of people motivated. We're also encouraged to fear people that are different from us. When we struggle economically, we're encouraged to blame anyone but the 1%. And this permeates our society. We're taught it, in school. I know that any of you guys heard about that story in Texas where a mother saw her child's textbook and saw slaves being called immigrant workers. And that is exactly how these kinds of mythologies are created in our society. It's through the institutions and through structural problems that are deeply, deeply rooted in our society and our culture. So we have to build an alternative narrative. We have to build an alternative community. And that's our task in building this political revolution, is to build kind of institutions that can last long term and continue to fight after this election. We need to have real power. It needs to be lasting, and it needs to be grassroots. It has to be everywhere in the country. It can't just be in New York, where we have very strong unions, which is critical. We need to understand that we can't win overnight. If we elect Bernie, Congress will still be there, right? So our task is truly to build a revolution at the level of every district in every state, all the way up to the White House. Our task is to take back all of the right-wing state houses the Republicans have taken over across the country. And our task, we're only going to meet that challenge if we truly organize at the grassroots. We need to be building, in DSA, we think of it as an alternative community to help people engage in collective action, as well as think about what they're doing and interrogate and learn from their experiences, and to learn from history and learn from political thinkers. We're trying to build an institution that can work inside the Democratic Party when we need to, outside the Democratic Party when we need to, provide ways for people to get involved that are frustrated with formal politics, and really to have a multi-pronged attack on the system. And I want to speak to what Jerome talked about, which is Black Lives Matter, and actually Carmen as well, which is like this reality that I think Bernie is doing a good job of addressing, and I think gets at the absolute Achilles heel of the broadly defined economic justice movement in this country, which is the legacy of slavery and the legacy of racism and the continued racism that is rooted in all the institutions of our society and culture. And having been a union organizer, I know that the only way to overcome the divisions which exist among working people in this country and stoked between working people in this country is through concrete solidarity, by having the humility to listen, particularly people with more privilege, having the humility to listen, and working together even when the going gets tough. And it works when we try it. And I think Bernie is a perfect example. Bernie, a lot of white progressives and liberals want to gloss over differences among people. And they don't think of them as differences from which we can draw strength. They look at them as differences to gloss over. And Bernie was, in some ways, forced to bring a very explicit anti-racist analysis to the campaign trail and put it front and center in his politics. And at the same time that he's doing a much better job of doing that, he's becoming more and more popular among conservative white voters. So the lesson for me is something just reinforced what I always thought, which is that if someone can have the courage to really talk about what's really going on in this country, instead of trying to pretend there aren't divisions, but really to point out the real divisions and speak truth to power, that is what's going to build a powerful movement. That's one reason that Bernie is so dangerous. So my last point is that as a socialist, I believe we need to build socialist institutions. And as someone who wants this political revolution, I believe that we need to build these institutions to be long-term. And I encourage all of you to join DSA or join other ideological and activist organizations that have the infrastructure to sustain the momentum, because Bernie is always talking about how this needs to be long-term. Bernie is dangerous because he's not afraid of being called a socialist. The right uses red tape, and they have used it for 100 years, to restrict what is possible, restrict the political debate. So Bernie is an effective politician. He's a relatively mainstream politician. He's running the Democratic primary. But when people try to say he's socialist, and I just heard that Trump and Rand Paul are calling him a totalitarian communist dictator, or mainstream people like Anderson Cooper are ready. And rather than cowering the way most progressives, even those which have social democratic politics, he says, well, yes, I am a democratic socialist, and this is what it means. And obviously, there's debate about whether he's really a socialist and what it really means. But the fact that democratic socialism is dinner table and great room conversation across this country in a positive way, more than it has been in 100 years, to me is a game changer. So his standing proud to be open socialist changes the political possibility in this country. Hillary once said, politics is making the impossible possible, and that is precisely what Bernie is doing. He's standing up to the red-baiting bullies. He's talking about what real socialism is, and that's democracy. It's political democracy, which we don't particularly have anymore. It's economic democracy. And he's saying, you can't bully me, and you can't even bully those progressives who are afraid of the word socialist. We're trying to pass liberal reforms which might slightly rein in corporate power. I mean, they were calling Obama socialist, and obviously he's not. And he is creating space in the debate. Again, whether he wins the White House or not, he is changing the game. So, we're supporting him because we love his politics. We're supporting him because he is changing the debate, standing up to the bullies. He's also changing potentially the real, actual politics. I mean, Hillary would be talking about gay family leave unless Bernie was. So he's having a real impact on the debate. And we think that this will have changes up until we get into the White House and beyond. But we have to take back Congress as well. So I hope you'll consider getting involved in DSA or other ideological organizations, and I hope you'll join Bernie in saying you're a democratic socialist. And I hope you'll think about how we sustain this momentum and how we sustain this community of people that really want to fight back in the long term, because that's what it's going to take our country back. For us, not for the Trump crowd. So thank you.
Now, it's my great pleasure to introduce Jim Hightower.
This is terrific, and I've been listening to what's being said by Jerome and Carmen and Maria. This is so important. Maria indicated that Bernie Sanders is dangerous. He's not dangerous at all. You're dangerous. That's my nervous sign, because you're responding, and your response worries the powers that be in this country, because the powers that ought to be are on the rise, and they've got an opportunity in this year, this coming presidential year, to say something big about it, but more importantly, to do something about it for the long haul. So I'm moved that, Jerome talked about the James Dolan, we're Cablevision down in Austin, Texas, where I live. And I pay a humongous sum of money, seems to be, every month for channels that I don't even want. And there he is, a billionaire, treating workers like this. Some of these guys get so rich they can afford to air condition hell. And I tell you what, they better be setting some money aside for that project. Well, it just makes me angry and defeated a dog show to be standing up here looking out at all of you DSAers, you union agitators, you Bernieistas. We have a tremendous opportunity. It's just a perfect joy to be here in this really historic hall in a short period of history, 1199, a hall of activists, to come together and do something big together again, to socialize, mobilize, and organize, not just for Bernie, but for building and advancing a progressive democratic movement around America's founding, progressive values, economic fairness, social justice, equal opportunity for all people. That's what we stand for. Those three simple standards right there. And that is what the establishment is totally dedicated against, and that is what we're trying to research through this campaign. As Bernie says, this is not just another political campaign. It's a new American revolution to restore America to its own people. You don't have to be who's who to know whatsoever. And what's what is the core issue that we face in this country today is that too few people control too much of the money and power, and they're using that control to get more for themselves at our expense. That's what it is, right there. So what you're involved in, what you're reaching out for, is a renewal of the historic effort of generation after generation of ordinary people in this country who shapes rebellion forward to democratize money and power in our country. That is the core politics of this country. That's the real politics, as we say in Texas, politics with hair on it. This is real. This is not talking about some little Benghazi emails, or not talking about just some frou-frou. This is talking about the core of who we are as a people. It's talking about the possibility of America to be a society that might actually implement economic fairness, social justice, equal opportunity for all people. And we're in this not to take America back. That's what the Tea Party Republicans said. They're taking it back. We're back to the rubber barons, back to the Gilded Age. We're back to the 18th century. We don't want to take America back. We want to move America forward. All Americans moving together. Next, I come from Austin, but I don't just come from Austin. I come from South Austin, south side of the river. We have a little more irreverent attitude over there. John Henry Paul, Molly Adams, myself, they're over there. A bunch of ex-hippies, African Americans, Latinos, and we, as I say, have a little different attitude. In fact, our unofficial slogan on the south side is "We're all here because we're not all there." And I think we're gathered here tonight and gathered in this campaign because we know that the powers that be in this country, the Wall Street and Washington powers, use the redundancy there. These powers are not at all there in terms of comprehending the essential uniting value of the notion that we're all in this together. That's what it's about. That's what America stands for. We're all in this together. Yet, powers that be are as confused as goats on astroturf in terms of understanding the necessity of coming together around this, and that if they don't, then they can't survive either. I mean, think about it. 30 years ago, we had Ronald Reagan's trickle-down economics. Trickle-down economics. And now we've got the Koch brothers trickle-down economics. I'm talking about the downsizers and the privatizers, the Walmart wage whackers and the big oil frackers, the bosses, bankers, big shots, bastards, bullshitters who think that they can run roughshod over us. They think they're the top dogs and we're just a bunch of firehackers. But that's what we're here to hear. This is whom the pollsters do not talk to. This is whom the New York Times and the national media do not talk to. Are the people's stories themselves, and the stories that you have, the hundreds and thousands of stories that are out there of people who are in rebellion against this. Because after all, they, even a dog knows the difference between being stolen over and being kicked. People are being kicked, and they know that. And they're beginning now to figure out that not only are they being kicked, but their neighbors being kicked. And this person over here that they might not have thought anything about or not even have feared, they're being kicked too. And they're beginning to recognize the wisdom of what Jesse Jackson told us 30 years ago, 25 years ago, which is we might not all come over on the same boat, but we're in the same boat now. That's a powerful political reality. If we come together around that, we can build something big, which really brings us, I think, to us. Inequality, doesn't just happen. Inequality is created. It's caused by the deliberate choices made by the corporate greedheads, political deadheads, to further enrich and empower themselves at our expense. They employ their entire full arsenal of power tools to rig the system. Their campaign cash, their lobbies, union busters, trade scams, campaign cash, PR campaigns, front groups, Fox News, Supreme Court. Did I mention campaign cash? They say that it's sex. I don't know much about this. Jeff Gold was telling me about that as he drove me into town here today. He said that in sex that using a feather can be erotic. But using the whole chicken, that's just nasty. These people are using the whole chicken. Economists have a technical term for what's happening to us. It's called stealing. Woody Guthrie wrote a song about it long ago. About alcohol, it's pretty well full of alcohol. Through this world I travel, I see lots of funny men. Some will rub me with a 6-gun, some with a fountain pen. It's fountain pens who are in a serious secret in our society today. But Woody had an answer to it. And he was over here on Coney Island. He had a radio program in which he said, the rich people took your money with politics. You can get it back with politics. That's our challenge right there. That's what we're talking about. And that brings us to us, you and me, and of course, Bernie Sanders. Several years ago, down in Austin, we had a campaign finance reform group. They called themselves Austinites for a little less corruption. And they proposed a $100 campaign, $100 per person campaign. The media was opposed to it, politicians were opposed to it, money people were opposed to it, lobbyists were opposed to it. It passed overwhelmingly. We have a campaign finance reform in Austin, Texas, and it works. They can't take more money than that. Yet, we're still fighting down there. It works. And we now are people for a little more economic fairness, social justice, and equal opportunity for all people. So the question is, who's going to do that for us? Fairness, justice, opportunity. Who's going to bring that to us? Not the Republicans, of course. It used to be that even to run for president as a Republican, you had to be quasi-qualified. Now, you do not have to be sane. They say they're going to fix America. They're going to fix it like your veterinarian in the States. Darnell, Carly, Senior Local, Jeb with an exclamation mark, Sleepy, Dopey, and Daphne, Snoopy and Loki got out of the way, his daddy still in. The whole bunch would make good landfill. But that's not our problem. Our problem's on our own side. My party, Democratic Party, I've been a Democrat. That's right. Born as such. Elected as such, I'm just using the people of Texas. Down there. But it's not the business as usual, puts land with corporatized Democrats who are going to do it for us. In fact, they're as weak as Canadian hot sauce when it comes to that's ketchup, by the way. Well, they showed us something 2 days ago, didn't they? But get this, Senator Bernie Sanders, or even President Bernie Sanders, won't do it for us either. My message to you, I'm sure you're wondering what it is right now, is it's up to us, you and me, not Bernie, not good progressives in Congress. There's some forums, and others are in there now, but us. And that's Bernie's message. Directly spoke early last month over in Wisconsin. They call it Fighting Bob Fest over there. It's terrific. They put it up fightingbobfest.org.com, one of those. And it's a terrific thing. Go to have one here. In fact, have your own name for it. Fighting Bob Fest over there in Wisconsin for Fighting Bob. And Bernie's been a regular speaker over there, as I have been as well. And he wasn't able to come this year, but for obvious reasons. Well, there's some letter he sent to me, and I read it to the crowd there. They had 10,000 people turn out to this thing there. He said, ours is a people's campaign. We don't have a super PAC funded by billionaires, bankers, or big business. We don't represent their interests, and we don't want their money. Not an ego trip. The truth is, corporate America, the billionaire class, and Wall Street are too powerful for any one person, even a president, to confront alone. We need a powerful grassroots movement of millions who are prepared to fight back, to say loudly, clearly, that this country and our government belongs to all of us, not just a handful of billionaires and wealthy donors. When we stand together, black and white, Hispanic, young and old, men and women, gay and straight, native born and an immigrant, there's nothing we cannot accomplish. So thank you for helping to build a political revolution to reclaim our commonwealth and our democracy. That's what this is. It's not a presidential campaign. Whatever happens on November of 2016, that's only the beginning of this. If Bernie's in, tremendous. You got to start there. But if he's not in, we built something big. We got people organized all over the country. We got the lists. And we're going to give those lists back to the local people. It's not going to be centralized in some file that never gets uncovered again. We're going to have the beginnings of an actual movement in this country. And core Bernie's message, of course, is that point about money. We don't want billionaires' money. And he's not getting close to it, of course. But he was offered the ability to form one of these super PACs that could get millionaires to contribute to. But he said, no, kill it. I said, kill it. I won't do it. And so he's raised $26 million in the last cycle. The average contribution was $31.20. You can't buy a president for $31.20. You can buy a president who will not be bought by the big money for $31.20. I've known Bernie for a long time, about 30 years, I think. I campaigned with him when he first ran up for Congress up in Vermont. And at one event there at Montpelier, their state capital, we had a rally there on Capitol grounds, and the guy came up afterwards wearing a big old blue button. It's the best one I've ever seen. He said, wearing a button is not enough. give a nation a button where it's in. Pick up a button as you go out, but that's not enough. That's just the declaration of what you stand for and what you're going to be. He's not in this race for legacy. He's got a legacy already. But it's being a conduit to a genuine, grassroots, democratic, political, cultural, and social movement that actually moves. Imagine that. We throw the word movement around, but a movement is not a bunch of committee meetings. A movement is people coming together, rubbing up against each other, having a little bit of beer and red wine together. You got to lubricate the movement. Coming together and beginning to trust each other, knowing that this issue and that issue, and this person over here and that person on the other side of that we're all related. And we've all got something in common, and we're good together, and we can make something happen. And of course, the big question for the pundits and powers that be is, well, yeah, but you can't win. You can't win. I'll tell you a quick story. I was out in Albuquerque. My old friend Fred Harris, who ran the last great populist campaign for president in 1976, Fred Harris, one second, Oklahoma, out in Albuquerque. I was his campaign coordinator. Made Fred what he is today, a professor in Albuquerque. We were sitting around with 3 or 4 other people, sitting, few tall, cool ones, and got to talk baseball. Very appropriate to see. And the name Lou Gehrig came up, and a younger guy in our group said, Lou Gehrig, who's Lou Gehrig? Well, you know, he's a New York Yankee, he's a superstar, Hall of Famer, who died young, 39 years of age, had a very sketchy Yankee. Say, died of Lou Gehrig disease. And the young guy said, he died of Lou Gehrig disease. I said, what are the chances of that? So you never know what the odds might be. And as Maria was indicating, Bernie has already won by altering the 2016 debate. We would not even be talking about inequality issues. We would not be talking about the kind of things that Bernie has put on the table, including horrible Trans-Pacific Partnership that Hillary Clinton suddenly decided to choose against. Because Bernie had stood up and talked about that. We would not even be talking about this. Not just because of Bernie. This goes back to Occupy. They say that Occupy didn't do anything. Occupy did it, and Fight for 15 has continued that along the way. The immigration movement in this country, the gay marriage movement, who would have thought that possible 5 years ago, much less 10 years ago? People that put a whole other agenda on the table, and now prison is being put on the table. I saw in the New York Times today a story that the leading sheriffs and police chiefs in the country are coming out or doing away with the kind of incarceration mentality, not just the details about it, but the mentality of incarceration that we had adopted in this country. Big changes are coming, big changes are possible if we stand up. So we already won in terms of altering the debate, in terms of energizing millions of folks like me. And I've been around the country, I go just about every place that's got a zip code, and there are people just like you who want the same thing we do. We want our country to stand up for the principles that we believe in and that we were taught. Fairness, justice, opportunity for all people. That's what America represents. And people are on the move. They won't come back. People aren't going to stop. A friend of mine who was a pioneer in the organic movement down in Boston said, Hightower, that those who say it can't be done should not interrupt those who are doing it. So let's team up and reach out. Reach out to anybody and everybody Don't make assumptions about who they are. We got this world out here in New York City, all the way up to Los Angeles, certainly down to my state, all the way up to the plain stuff. People who are being victimized by these big oil frackers, ExxonMobil, Hightower, and they think they don't have a friend in the world. They're mostly apolitical or they are Republican, but they're angry, furiously angry at the corporations and at the Republican Party officials who are doing this to them. They are our allies, and we need to be in those fracking fields with them. We need to not just sit in our own living rooms, but we need to get out there with people who are in these fights and stand with them. And if we stand with them, then they'll stand with us. That's what a movement is. We have that possibility to make this happen, so we have to reach out, strategize, organize, harmonize, and use this year-long campaign for president to forge a genuinely new people's politics. And I know some say, well, it's possible you can't do it. Environmentalists, farmers, and workers, and women, and LGBT, and progressive church people, or evangelical church people. Everybody can't. It's be like herding cats. But I gotta tell you, anyone who tells you you cannot herd cats, never tried a can opener. They will come. And our can opener is that set of values: economic fairness, social justice, equal opportunity for all people. The American people believe in that. They have it in their hearts, and they don't like to see it implemented. And we have the potential to do that. So we're going to forge these coalitions and then meld that coalition longer term into an actual movement that, if off chance Bernie gets to be president, he's got support from the countryside to make it possible for him to govern as a populist, as a progressive. I think of movements and in terms of these coalitions and issues, in terms of a little hardware store near my home in Austin, it's called Harold's Hardware. It's a little big place, not any bigger than this room right here, so I'm just big box things. And in fact, you don't have to buy the whole carton of nails, it's 2 nails, that's what you need. And they'll say, what are you trying to do? Well, I want to build a electric. Well, let's cancel that out here, they'll say, and figure out what you need. They'll loan you a tool, you take a power saw and bring it back. And the slogan that Harold's Hardware is together, we can do it yourself. That's going to be our slogan, doesn't it? If we can't do it ourselves, but as Bernie says, if we unite together, we can do anything. Let's join together and make it happen.